Ahoy Shipmates! It's the event we've all been waiting for, the Maiden Voyage of P&O's flagship Iona. It's quite a late departure here. We were expecting fireworks, but I'm not sure we are going to get fireworks. So we'll just have to wait and see on that front. If not, we have some fantastic lighting going on here. We've got a couple of linesmen ready for departure. It's just ready to go. And more importantly, we've got a special guest with us this evening. We have Emma Crusies. Hello, Emma.
Hello. Hello, everybody. More importantly, the most important thing is Iona. And look at her. She looks fantastic. But thank you for having me. This is very exciting.
There's not much space in my little cabin here, so it's a good job you didn't bring your cat Hudson, because I'm not sure cat Hudson and my little dog Rusty would have got on too well.
No, I don't think so.
Might have been a bit busy in here.
I think Hudson's hiding from the rain. It's not a lovely day today. Oh my goodness. Hello to everybody who's in the chat. It's so nice to see everyone. So many names I recognise.
I think we must have a fairly big crossover audience, I would imagine.
I think we do. All the best people, I think.
Absolutely. I recognise quite a few of those names as well. So you haven't booked for Iona, have you yet, if I remember?
Well, I did book Iona, but that doesn't mean I'm cruising on Iona. So unfortunately, I booked a cruise for January 2021, and I thought that was a sure thing. I booked it last summer, and it didn't cross my mind that we wouldn't be back cruising by January. Unfortunately, right. It was cancelled. The cruise I had was a really good price. It was 2 weeks to the Canary Islands. It would have been amazing. I am looking to rebook. I think I'm going to get away kind of in the autumn time. But yeah, I'm still a bit gutted about that cruise because it would have been such a good one. It was such a good price, and yeah, unfortunately, it just was too soon.
I've noticed a lot of that in the chat where people have been commenting. They're all booked up for cruises last year and all got cancelled.
Yeah, I was so convinced.
A lot of disappointed people out there. Yeah, it's a real shame.
Yeah, it's a shame for Iona because she was supposed to sail last May 2020. Right. She couldn't have picked a worse time to launch a ship. So she's kind of just been waiting, which is why this is exciting for everybody. But this is extra exciting because we've been waiting so long.
Yeah, we certainly have. So you have been on a few maiden voyages, though, haven't you?
I have this summer UK season. I've done a few of the first cruises. So I was on MSC Virtuosa, her first cruise out of the UK, which was so cool. First cruise for her. Yeah. And I did just get off of the Celebrity Silhouette. Not a new cruise, but it was the first cruise for Celebrity out of the UK. So that was super exciting. It's obviously exciting to go on a cruise, but to be on the first cruise for a cruise line after such a wait, the atmosphere is even better. Everyone's so excited to be there. It's so nice just to talk to the crew who are genuinely so happy to be back on the ship and be back at sea after being at home for the last year. So yeah, even better than before. Worth the wait for sure.
So if you were going out on Iona this evening, and obviously you're not, what would be your advice for people who are going on a brand new cruise, on a brand new ship?
The first day for me of any cruises is a blur because I run around, I want to see everything, I want to try and eat everything, have a drink everywhere, and I want to go to the theatre, and I want to experience everything. There's no way a ship like this is huge. Even if you're on for a week, you probably can still miss things. But I think Iona has something like 15 restaurants on board.
I think that's what I read, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I would be eating if I was on board right now. But they have a huge theatre. You can see in the middle there, that kind of glass dome. That's another area. It's a swimming pool, and they turn it into a venue when they do live music in there. So I'm sure that'll be very busy. That's probably where they're having their party, which is good for, UK sailings, because on most sailings you would have a party by the pool, a kind of sail away party. But UK climate doesn't always work for that. So it's nice they have that inside that glass bit.
Yep.
They have a big venue in there, so people will be drinking, eating, listening to music, just taking in this new ship. So envious of everybody who's on board.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think the glass dome's a great feature for a British cruising market.
Yeah, for sure. I know so many people are on board. I know people are already waving at us. I've seen a few people on Twitter saying they're going to wave at us. So we'll have to keep a lookout.
I'll try and fit them all in.
Yeah, I think there's only around 2,000 people on this Maiden Voyage. The ship holds 5,000, so she's less than half full, but plenty of people on there having a good time. Oh, I see a very good question from Paul.
Oh, excellent. Far away.
He says, "Why is there no deck 13 on cruise ships?" And
Ooh.
I don't know about Iona, but I would guess she probably doesn't have a deck 13. Someone can correct me on that if she does. But it's just a superstition thing. So on a lot of the American cruise lines, like the Celebrity Silhouette I was on, there's no 13, just because some people think 13 is unlucky, which is quite nice for me. I think I was on deck 10, and when I was walking up to the buffet, it would always be one less than you thought it would be, because there was just no 13. It just goes from 12 to 14. And on the Italian cruise lines, like MSC, they don't have 17 for the same reason, because it's just considered unlucky. So
interesting. I didn't know that.
I mean, it still physically exists, of course, and some ships will still have 13 as long as they don't have cabins on there. I don't know why, but yeah. That's why.
Oh, that's funny. I know Americans are quite superstitious. A lot of lifts in the States don't have 13 floors on them for some reason.
Yeah, and some hotels don't have 13 and all kinds of things. No 13, says James. Yeah, no 13. Interesting.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, quite confusing when you don't know and you're walking up the stairs and you're thinking, I'm sure I just came from 12, but... Well, we have a question about where she's going. I feel like we should probably answer that one, shouldn't we?
Well, I think that's a very important question, actually.
Yeah.
Iona is named after the Scottish island of Iona. It was a competition to name the boat, and that was the most popular choice, wasn't it, Iona?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she's just going up there, isn't she? Up to a Scottish island and back, which is an interesting itinerary.
It certainly is, and I think it's a great name, actually. I really like the name Iona. So I think it was a good choice. Otherwise, we could have ended up with Cruisy McCruiseface or something like that.
We could have ended up with anything. I'm sure some people would have submitted Cruisy McCruiseface. I'm sure, but yeah, Iona won. I think that's a good one too.
So yeah, from what I've read, there will be a lot of festivities in Iona. So that's probably where the fireworks will be, rather than here in the port of Southampton, which is unusual. Normally, when we get brand new cruise ships departing here, we get a big old display. In fact, like at the last couple, some years ago, we've had the displays for the cruise ships departing have been bigger than the November the 5th displays in Mayflower Park. If you don't know there's a ship leaving, all of a sudden, at random time of the year, it's like world wars breaking out.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe we have so many stored up because of, last year. It's not as if they could put a pause and stop building cruise ships for a year. It doesn't work like that. It takes them, 4 years to build a ship, which means now we've got all the ones that were supposed to launch in 2020 plus the ones that are launching in 2021. Yeah. So I think we're going to have even a better year this year and into next year. So many ships. Yeah,
you're right. There's been quite a few new ships coming to port as well. So it's very busy. Yes, right. Oh, there is a lot of people in the chat, isn't there? I forgot to look over that direction. Oh, where's Iona going? Yes, we saw that one. Thank you for that, shipmate Laser Claw. What's under the dome? Says Chris. Oh, let's talk about the dome up here. In fact, you can see all those lights flashing. It does look like a bit of a disco party area, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's a swimming pool.
Yeah.
And it's also a kind of music venue, if that makes sense. So they'll transform it and there'll be people in there like dancing in the evening. I'm sure they'll have live music in there and various other things. Excellent.
So does the swimming pool get covered?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be a bit strange kind of dancing around the pool, wouldn't it? But I'm pretty sure this is one of the ones where they cover it, which is always clever. But it makes sense, use the venue in the day and in the evening. Absolutely, yeah.
Looks really good. I can just see they're taking a few lines at the stern.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it looks very colourful in there. That's cool.
It does look really colourful, doesn't it? Like I said, it definitely looks like there's something going on in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably going to be where everything's happening this evening because it's such a huge space. It's over multiple levels, so you'll be able to get lots of people in there.
Right, multiple levels. Yeah, I can imagine it's just like a bit of a nightclub or something, isn't it, in that respect?
Yeah, I think it'll just have lots of kind of seating around the side, and it'll probably will take the place of the pool party that you'd have if you were in the Caribbean, or
Yeah, yeah.
it's probably not going to be an outside pool party today.
No, that's a bit of a shame there. I'm just looking at just operating the cameras here to see what's going on.
Oh yeah,
Looks like she'll be departing, I would say, pretty much bang on 9 o'clock. So the captain will be pleased with that.
yeah. Oh, Captain Wesley. Is Captain Wesley on board? I think so.
Captain Wesley, yeah, as far as I know, yeah.
Love Wesley. I took a cruise on Britannia a couple of years ago, and he was hilarious. He was so funny. We were cruising, really? Yeah, we were cruising it to Norway, and he said something like, I can't remember what it was, and it was like, great news, everybody. We're going to have 20 degrees of weather tomorrow, 10 in the morning and 10 in the afternoon. We had rain every single day. It was fabulous, though. Norway looks great, even in the rain.
I had a friend who took a cruise up through Norway, up through the fjords, and I think his impression was it was going to be on a cruise ship, but it was on one of the ferries with a few passenger cabins.
No. Oh.
And, it wasn't quite the luxurious experience he was expecting.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine on a proper cruise ship, obviously you get the luxurious experience, but the scenery is quite dramatic, isn't it, going up and down those fjords?
Yeah, it's amazing, and it lasts for hours and hours. It's not as if, oh, here's the photo opportunity.
Yeah.
The photo opportunity is for hours and hours, in and out. It's just unlike anything.
Did you manage to get off anywhere? Or was there
this was pre everything happening. So the only cruises I've done since that is the MSC Virtuosa cruise I did, where I didn't get off. We went to Portland, and the destination for me was the ship, so I stayed on with the all-inclusive drinks and the food. And I see the cruise monkeys are in the chat. I spent quite a lot of time with them. It was brilliant. On the Silhouette cruise I did, we went to Liverpool, Belfast, and Dover. And we had to do kind of ship organised excursions then. I have seen Celebrity have said that you don't have to do their excursions anymore. You can just wander off.
Right.
Not sure if this I'm sure the other cruise lines will follow, but I think Celebrity are the first saying that.
Oh, interesting. I don't know if you'll be getting off in Iona when you're on Iona. I'd imagine you'd probably swell the population of the islands by about 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I thought it was a sail by of Iona and a party and all of that stuff, but I'm not sure. Not too sure.
Yeah, that's my understanding. Yeah. So, what's your favourite restaurant on the cruise ships? And do you like the buffets, or do you prefer the different restaurants?
Yeah. So I like to try everything, of course, everybody does. I have to say I'm somebody who tends to stick to the food that is included in my cruise fare. For example, on Iona, there'll be at least a main dining room, a buffet, various other places you can get food for free, and then they'll have extra restaurants which cost extra. I've been to quite a lot of those, and they're fantastic, and the food is great, but I feel like I've already paid for food, and I might as well eat the food I paid for. You know what I mean? It's not as if within a week I'm going to manage to eat everything that's included. So you'll normally find me in the kind of included restaurants. But when I cruised on Britannia, I did try a couple of their specialty ones, and they were brilliant. But yeah, the great thing about a cruise is, I mean, the food is unlimited. So if you don't know what dessert you want in the main dining room, you just order 2 or 3, and then if you want to go to the buffet straight after, that's fine.
What's the sort of difference if you were going to one of the more specialist restaurants?
So they're kind of more.
What's the price? Yeah.
So if you're somebody who really likes steak, there'll be a specialist steak restaurant that does steak really well, or seafood, or it's more a specific type of food that they do really well. Some of them you will pay just a flat fee to go in there. It's normally something like $40 or $50 per person to go in there, and then everything is there. You can eat as much as you like. Some of them do have a kind of pay-as-you-go option. But yeah, I would prefer to just pay one thing and then eat as much as I can, because try and get my money's worth.
Yeah, so it certainly makes the budgeting easy, doesn't it? If you know what
Yeah.
if it's all inclusive. Yeah, I was curious. I've seen there's quite a few different restaurants on Iona, and there's a gastro pub and a few other ones. I'm not quite sure which ones are included, but they do look very exciting. Some of the fine dining options, but there wasn't much indication of the price difference.
Yeah, they don't tend to publish their prices because they will change them quite a lot if it's different. Basically, just how popular it is. If it's, they want everyone who wants to go to be able to go, and if that means they have to increase their prices so that less people go, then they will do that. So it will change different destinations, and different ships will cost different. And yeah, it's not as simple as just saying pay $50 and you can go.
Yeah. I see there's a lot of I get quite a few people on the channel who are quite interested in cruising and have never been before.
Mm-hmm.
I think obviously last year no one could go.
Yeah.
So people have sort of pent up. But and I've noticed a few quick people ask this, but how easy is it to sort of make friends on board?
I think it's so much easier than anything else I've done on land or in the rest of my life or any other type of holiday. Everyone is in such a good mood, especially on a cruise like this. You're going to have everybody on here who loves cruising, so everyone is just going to talk to each other. But I've just found you kind of feel like you're looked after on a cruise. You're in a safe little bubble. You're taken around wherever you're going. And I think because of that, people kind of let their guard down a bit more and feel a bit more relaxed. I know I do. If I'm, at a restaurant or out at a bar on land, I'm probably not going to talk to people in the same way as I would on a cruise, because you're in it together, you're having a good cruise. And yeah, plenty of people love cruising solo because they meet so many friends. If you don't want to talk to anybody else, you don't have to. It's not like you're forced to socialize. But if you go on a cruise and you intend to hang out with people you've never met before, then you can do that. Plenty of lovely people on cruises.
Yeah, that makes sense, because you have nothing to worry about, essentially, do you? You've got your room for the night, and there is food, and everything's there. So.
Yeah, it's so easy, because it's so nice once you're kind of done with the evening. If you're having drinks with friends and you think, oh, I'm done, I want to go home, you literally just stand up and walk, I don't even know how, 2 minutes away, and then you're back home and you go to bed. It's brilliant. So good. No worrying about who's driving. Are you going to call a taxi? No, you just go back home.
That's brilliant. Makes sense. Do they have events typically for organising groups of people to mingle, or is that just?
Yeah. So, a lot of cruise lines will have specific kind of solo cabins that they have for solos, because they're planning on having a lot of solos on board. They'll do solo meetups. Some of them will do, some cruise lines are obviously better than others. I think P&O are pretty good for solos, but cruise lines like Norwegian Cruise Line, they have like a specific solo lounge, and only people who are solo and staying in the solo cabins can go in the solo lounge. So you kind of automatically know. And on the first day, everyone will meet up, and if you want to go and you want to meet people, they make it very easy. Obviously, it's been a bit different because of they can't really gather big groups of people together. Because of COVID at the minute, so I don't think all of the kind of solo meetups are going on in the same way. But a lot of people will, a lot of people will join, Facebook groups for the sailing. Most Facebook groups will have like a roll call group, and people will join that, make friends before they go, meet up. A lot of that happens on cruises.
Okay, so that's a very good point. So if you are going on a cruise, if you're fairly active on the social media or Facebook front, you could help yourself out a lot by getting different people. Sorry, my dog's just barking at something. Oh, that's good to know. You started cruising at quite an early age.
I did. I was 11 on my first cruise, and I was looking at some of my pictures recently. I look so funny in my P&O t-shirt and my baseball hat, and I loved it. I thought it was the most fun thing in the world, because I took that cruise with my brother and with my cousins, and it was quite a big family trip. So I was able to, my parents would be eating a sit-down meal in the main restaurant. At 11, I thought that was really boring. So me and my cousins would be able to go to the buffet, and we'd be able to have pizza. And we would go in the kids club, and they would have like Nintendo Wiis and stuff. And it was so much fun. Just that freedom for me as a child and as a teenager. I thought it was so much fun, I've always liked making friends with people from different countries, and I could come back from my trip and tell all my friends that I've been talking to Americans and stuff, which I just found that so amazing when I was a teenager and when I was a child. And I just never really stopped cruising. I just always knew that that's what I liked doing. I thought it was fun. Then when I was, I don't know, 19 or 20, I wanted to take some of my friends on a cruise. Friends who had never cruised, and some of the things that they came out with about it being, boring and dress codes and stuff. And it had never crossed my mind that people thought that that's what cruising was like, because I knew that wasn't what it had to be like. So that's kind of where everything started for me, because I wanted to show people, if you want a cunard experience in a bow tie and ballroom dancing and afternoon tea, there is that is an option for you. But if you're somebody who doesn't ever want to change out of shorts, that there's cruise lines where there's no dress codes at all, and there's no dining times, and you don't have to do anything like that if you don't want to.
So really, there's a cruise ships for all tastes, isn't there? Really?
Yeah, it's quite funny, because if I speak to people from the UK who've never been on a cruise, I always get the boring, old people, traditional kind of people think that's what a cruise is like. And then when I speak to Americans, they say to me, oh, isn't that spring break, kids in the Caribbean partying?
Yeah.
And they're both right. It's just that there's everything in between. And it's interesting to me how the two different countries, people who don't cruise, have such a different idea about it.
Yeah, it's curious, isn't it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think we've got a couple of wavers there with their mobile phones. That's a really effective solution, because it's the first time I've actually live streamed this time of night.
Looks amazing.
Yeah, normally it's a little bit brighter. Just someone said they were in the front somewhere, but I'm trying to find them, but I'm not sure I can find them.
Oh yeah. Oh, we have a waver. Yeah, I know so many people are on board. I know my friend Dave has a cabin right at the front. My friend Matthew's on board, cruising with Matthew. We have Lois on board, if Lois is watching. Seth's on board. So many people are on board. I think if you're somebody who likes cruising and you're from the UK, this is just the best cruise to go on. I would have booked on this cruise, maybe, but I am cruising on Scarlet Lady next weekend, the Maiden Voyage ship. And
yes.
Just overlapped, so
that's I think that'll be exciting to go on there as well. You're saying that it's potentially a slightly different cruise experience again on Scarlet Lady.
Completely different. P&O and Maiden Voyages, as we were talking about the different scale, almost different ends of the scale.
Yeah.
It's interesting with Iona, I think, because P&O tend to be kind of more of a traditional cruise line. They've had, people like to meet the captain, and they like to dress up for formal nights, and that's kind of been the P&O clientele for a while. And with Iona, they've gone a lot bigger, and they've made it a lot more flexible, and they're aiming at a lot towards families. So I think it's going to be interesting to see, how the current P&O market, like Iona. I know the kids clubs look amazing on board. She's got 4-screen cinema, I think. So if you're a child looking for a cruise, I think Iona would be great. But I'm interested in seeing how the more traditional cruisers find her, because she is a big ship. She is huge.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely massive ship. 344 meters long. Yeah, crazy size of ship. Doesn't look particularly big, but when you see her next to some of the other ships, just the scale is phenomenal. And like I say, I don't know how you find your way around. Like I say, you could be on board for a week and probably only ever experience half of what she has to offer. Yeah,
I think for me it gets to day 5 of a cruise, and I start to know which way I'm going, as in which way I should go when I come out my cabin to get to stuff. And then the cruise is normally over. I normally do shorter cruises. A week is quite a long time for me, but you really need a week, I think, especially a ship like this.
So what would be your preferred cruise length then, if you were new and you were if you want to go on your first cruise, what would you recommend to someone?
I normally recommend, I think, a 7-night cruise. You can't go wrong with a 7-night cruise, because it's long enough that you get to grips with the ship, you get to experience everything, but it's not such a huge financial commitment as, say, a 2-week cruise. I normally recommend 7 if it's your first night, your first cruise. I have done some that are 2 or 3 nights, which are good and they're cheap, which I see why first time cruisers would go for the cheap one first. But you don't it's not really the same experience. The cruise I just got off of on Celebrity Silhouette, I did a 3-night cruise on Celebrity Silhouette in 2018. It was completely different, day and night different. The first one was everybody celebrating their birthdays, anniversaries.
Right.
Everyone was, it was over a weekend. It was over a bank holiday weekend, and it went to Amsterdam. So it went to Amsterdam and back. Yeah. So it was brilliant. We had such a good time, but it was very different from the cruise that I just got off, which was a week on Celebrity Silhouette, which was a lot more relaxing. The first one was crazy busy, but I expected it.
Oh, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. So the shorter cruises attract the sort of more of the party crowd.
Yeah, I see why. I mean, it's a brilliant way to celebrate your birthday if you can just pay, one fee for your food, your drink, your accommodation, everything covered. But it's just not the same.
Yeah, it makes organising things a lot easier, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I know you haven't been on Iona, but do you have a favourite cruise ship at the moment?
Or
is that constantly changing?
It's a tricky one. I think, to me, it depends on so many things: who I'm going with, where I'm going. The ship I got off, the MSC Virtuosa, I really like that one. I really like the newer MSC ships. They're so modern, and I just really like the design of them. I like the newer kind of Norwegian cruise ships. They have an amazing promenade deck where there's restaurants and a pub that opens out to the promenade deck, which I think is cool.
Well, that sounds really nice.
It is nice because some of the ships, some of the bigger ones for some of the American cruise lines, they're very much, look at this internal neighborhood that we have here inside. And sometimes you when you're sat in there, you can completely forget that you're on a ship. And I quite like the ships, where you can take a stroll around the promenade deck and there's loads of space on the top deck, because you're on a cruise for a reason. I think it's because you like being at sea and you like just looking out. So I do like those ones. I don't think I've ever really been on a ship that I didn't like. I've been on some that were very different from the other ships. I took a cruise with Costa Cruises, and honest, I've never seen anything like it in my life. The colours, it felt like having a migraine every day for 7 days, and it was brilliant. I had so much fun. But the colours, oh gosh, I've never seen anything like it. In the middle of the day, yeah, I'll show you some pictures after this. But in the atrium there was this huge statue of this lady with her bum just naked. It was amazing. It was a brilliant cruise, but it's unlike anything I've ever seen. Everything was so shiny. In the theatre they had lasers. It was interesting. But there's, again, with the cruise ships, there's so much variety, from that colourful laser cruise ship all the way to a more traditional Cunard ship, which they decorate those amazingly for Christmas, very classical, but everything in between.
Excellent. Well, we've certainly got quite a few wavers here. I can see the mobile phone torches. That's definitely the way to go, because I'm very difficult to see people waving at the moment. It's dark, but I spotted quite a few people. Interestingly, I noticed that there was a couple of wavers earlier, and there are some balcony cabins underneath the lifeboats on Iona.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've seen those before.
Uh,
Zoom in over here and I'll show you. I remember there were some people concerned that perhaps they wouldn't be quite so, the balconies would be sort of overhung with the lifeboats.
Oh, okay, I see. Well, it's tricky for cruise lines, because if you look back, ships that were built in the 80s, even kind of into the 90s, they were almost all inside cabins, and no one really wanted balcony cabins, and now everyone wants balcony cabins, so they try and put them everywhere they can, which makes sense. But especially since everything that happened last year, a lot of people who would have cruised in inside cabins are thinking, maybe I'll treat myself to a balcony. I'm quite happy in those inside cabins. If I was on Iona right now, I would be probably deck 5 or something, right at the bottom, right at the front, right at the back. I usually don't pay to pick my specific cabin because it's cheaper if you let the cruise line pick, and I really don't mind. The downside is sometimes you have a long walk to get. These ships are really long, so if you're right at the front and you want to get to the buffet at the back, it can be quite a long walk. But for me, I'd prefer to save the money. I don't have any need to be in any specific place.
Well, you need to walk off that buffet as well, don't you?
Exactly, yeah. Sometimes they put me as far as possible from the buffet. My cabin will be deck 5 forward, and the buffet will be deck 14 at the back. It takes ages, but I think it's probably a good thing.
I was talking to some cruisers who were going out today on Iona. They were in the platform tavern just here in port,
Hmm.
and I said to them, "Oh, where are you? Where will you be?" And they said, "Well, they take inside cabins now. They used to take solely cabins with balconies, but you can't smoke on all the balconies now. So they've decided
Yeah.
there's not much point in having a balcony. You might as well, like I say, save a few pounds, be inside, and enjoy the rest of the ship."
Yeah, there's I think 3 cruise lines where you can smoke on the balconies still. I would much prefer a cruise line didn't let people smoke on the balconies. The idea of you being sat on your balcony and the smell of smoke coming across, plus it's a fire hazard, to have people smoking on the balconies. But on Costa that we mentioned earlier, you can still smoke on your balcony. I think another one of the British cruise lines you can too, but it's the cruise lines are slowly banning it because
Yeah,
obvious reasons, I think.
that makes sense. So, have you stayed in a cabin with one of those virtual portholes?
I haven't, but
Ah,
I'm interested in it. I think for me, if it wasn't much extra money, I would pay for it, but I'm not sure how much I would pay for something like that because the thing for me, the less money I spend on my cabin, the less time I spend in there. So I literally go in there to have a shower, to go to sleep, and then the rest of the time I'm out on the ship. I've paid for the ship, haven't I? So I might as well
yeah,
be out
absolutely.
and doing things. So I think personally for me and the way I cruise, it would be kind of a waste of money. It would be more kind of just an interest thing for me because it does look interesting. But if it was getting towards the price of a real view, real balcony, then
Yeah,
yeah, probably.
this sort of defeats the object, then, doesn't it?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's interesting and it's nice to have. And if they want to add that into all of the standard inside cabins, that's fine. But would I pay extra for it?
No,
Probably not.
no,
Probably not.
fair enough. Oh gosh, I'm way behind here on the chat. Someone's asking about fireworks. No, it looks like no fireworks, I'm afraid. Even though all the press said there was going to be fireworks. I was suspicious there wasn't going to be any because there was no notice to mariners. There was no NOTAMs for the aeroplanes and things. So I did have a feeling that there wouldn't be, which is a
Yeah.
shame.
Oh well.
Boy there, Tim Young says Iona's looking great, all lit up. I certainly agree there. This is the first time I've seen her looking quite so bright. Actually, because most of the time she leaves during the daylight, so it's quite nice to see her at dusky time.
Yeah, it's nice, and I mean she's got the glass dome and then the glass bit on the side, so you can see in. So, yeah, I think this ship is quite. So in the middle, there's this big atrium with a big kind of sweeping staircase that's huge.
Yep.
And I like ships that are designed like this, where the focus is, to see the ocean. Even if you're inside, right in the middle there, you've still got these huge glass windows, which I like.
So you think that's quite a change in design from the ships from the 80s, which were really just sort of more glorified ferries, weren't they?
Yeah, it's strange. I took a cruise on a ship that was built in the 80s for Royal Caribbean, and now she's with a cruise line called Celestial, which is a Greek cruise line, which was brilliant. It was so much fun, but you could definitely tell that you were on an older cruise ship. A lot of the ones from the 90s, you wouldn't really be able to tell that they're not modern. But that one, it was kind of like you would be walking along the corridor and then all of a sudden it would just be a random step up or a random bit to the side. It was all a bit higgledy-piggledy and a
Oh
bit
gosh.
like it was great. It was brilliant, and they had a proper oak kind of promenade deck, and everything was like good quality. But it was just different from the rest of the ships I've been on.
If you were slightly limited in your mobility, how is a modern cruise ship? I guess it's really rather good in that respect compared to, like you say, the older ones.
Yeah, any ship I think built after the late 90s, they had people with mobility issues in mind. So every cruise ship will have accessible cabins where the door will be big enough, and it won't have. Most cabins have kind of a lip up into the bathroom, so you'd have to step up. But if you get an accessible cabin, it will be the same, so you can go in. Some will have, well, most of them will, you can get onto the balcony even if you're in a wheelchair. The swimming pools will have ways to get you in as well. So they do think about that. They're pretty good now. maybe not so much on the older ships, but they're getting better.
Yeah, I would imagine the modern designs made quite a difference there.
Yeah. Oh, I see a question from Andrew to me. Did you say you were on Scarlet Lady next week? Yes, I am on Scarlet Lady on Friday. So next weekend I'm on Scarlet Lady. Looking forward to it. Not sure what to expect, but going with an open mind. 90% excited, 10% nervous.
Is that the first Scarlet Lady cruise? That was last Friday, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I'm on the third one, maybe. I thought I'd give them some time to, settle in. Sometimes the first cruises can be, they haven't all worked everything out. The crew haven't necessarily tested everything before. So sometimes the first ones, there can be a few teething issues. On the first sailing of Scarlet Lady, I think people queued for 3-4 hours to get their tests.
Right.
So
yeah, that's not very good. I don't know what the queues are. I've been seeing some people saying different things. Some people have said they haven't queued very long to get on some of the ships recently, and other people said they've been queuing for a long time.
Yeah, it's tricky because some of the ships are requiring you to do tests at the port, so it's going to take longer, and some of them you have to do it beforehand. On the Celebrity cruise I took, we had to do a PCR test within 3 days before. So when we got to the port, we just had to show them the proof of that. And from my car to the ship on Celebrity Silhouette was 22 minutes, which was amazing. On the MSC cruise I did, we had to do the test there, so it took about an hour and a half, which I thought was fine. It was okay because you were constantly progressing. If you were in one queue for an hour and a half, that wouldn't be fun.
Yeah,
but you could see that you were making progress, and you just had to wait for the tests and stuff. So I thought that was fine. But yeah, some I've seen today, Disney and Virgin and everyone who's starting up, they've got some issues to work out with kind of getting everyone through the tests, because thousands of people through those tests is a big ask, I think, for any port.
Yeah, absolutely. Question here from shipmate Div, Grad and Curl. Which cruise lines operate smaller ships, adult-only cruises?
So as we're on the conversation of P&O, I think P&O are a good one for this. I did book one of the older, smaller P&O ships, Aurora, for next Christmas, but they have cancelled it already. So
already?
Yes.
Wow.
They've cancelled it because their restart plan is they're gradually introducing ships, and the smaller, older ship, Aurora, is just one of the last ones to be introduced. But P&O are quite good for that. If you're 50 plus, Saga are quite good. I went to the naming ceremony of the new Saga ship last week, and those ships are absolutely gorgeous. They're bigger. They're not the smallest ships, but you have so much space per person, and they're just brilliant. So yeah.
Excellent. Someone's here saying shipmate Dale Cousins says he counted 54 wheelchair-friendly cabins.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, that's excellent. I'm not sure. I'm guessing they're not going to roll around too much at sea, so you should be all right in your wheelchair.
I think they've got it all worked out by now.
Someone else, Ahoy Shipmate Cruises for Family says only kids need to do a PCR test when cruising resumes on the 26th for kids.
Yeah, so a lot of cruise lines are saying, everyone has to be fully vaccinated, but of course kids can't be fully vaccinated.
Yeah, exactly.
So in place of that, some will say the kids have to do tests. A lot of cruise lines will say everyone has to be vaccinated and tested. It just depends on the cruise line.
It's just a added complication these days, isn't it? But I think it's something we have to live with. But who knows what will happen?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind, and I find it when I'm on board these ships, I feel so much safer knowing everyone is vaccinated and tested. And I think, when I'm back on land and I, meet my friends in the pub or I go to a restaurant or something, I have no idea if anyone there has ever tested negative for coronavirus, let alone in the last, yesterday, as everyone would have on these ships. So I feel a lot safer at sea right now than on land.
It does actually make a lot more. It makes a very sensible holiday.
Yeah.
Instead of having to travel to somewhere overseas and then changing from red to amber or amber to
Yep.
green or whatever confusing state it's going to be, you like you say, you're on an environment where you don't have to think about anything. It's all supplied for you, and everyone is hopefully tested and safe, and you don't have to worry. It seems very sensible to me.
Yeah, the only worry is until you get on that ship, you still have the doubt in your mind of, am I going to test positive and I'm going to have to go home again? Every cruise I've taken, I've done the test, before I go to the port, just in case. And the chances of me testing negative in the morning and positive in the afternoon are quite small. But you still have that in your mind of this could all, until you're physically on board, then you can totally relax straight away.
Absolutely. There was a question from someone, I didn't quite see who it was, but what's the best cruise ship that you've sailed on?
Oh my goodness. If it was, Emma, money is no object. You can go back on any ship you've ever been on. I'm going on the Viking Sea, the Viking ocean ship. Absolutely amazing. I did a part of a Viking cruise, and Viking are a very, very luxurious cruise line. At least, 3 times the price of a P&O cruise probably. And it was brilliant, but I don't know if me doing that really luxurious cruise has kind of ruined everything since. Like, I compare everything to that amazing cruise. If money was no object, I would do a world cruise right now with Viking on a Viking ocean cruise, because it was fabulous. It was amazing, but quite far out of my budget.
I'm certainly tempted. It was on one of the cameras earlier. Was the new Golden Horizon?
Oh yes.
It does look quite stunning. I took some drone footage of it earlier and had a look at some of the online sales material, and it reminds me of the sort of Orient Express of the seas. It looks like at any moment Hercule Poirot is going to come around the corner and find a poisoned body.
Yeah, it does. It really does. It's not something I've ever considered before until this summer, and I've seen, everyone's going on this ship, and it would make such an interesting story to say, I went on a ship with sails, like a cruise ship. But yeah.
Question from shipmate Leslie Taylor.
I was wondering if we were going to go for the same question, but go ahead with yours.
She says, have you ever been in the Queen's Grill on a Cunard ship?
I have not. I have cruised with Cunards, but I was actually I had a balcony on that one, which was very luxurious for me. But no, I haven't. So a lot of cruise ships will have kind of a ship within a ship area that's more exclusive and more expensive, and you get access to, a private restaurant, private lounge, and other things. For me, that's not the way I cruise. I have cruised. I saw a question that said, have I ever been on a bad cruise? And
ooh, yeah, good question.
So I don't think I've ever been on a bad cruise, because for me, if the price I've paid matches what I get, then I think that's good and I think that's fine. So I've taken the Costa cruise I took was £38 per night. And for that price, I couldn't stay in a travel lodge.
£38 a night.
Yes.
What do you get for that?
So that was a cruise I took. I did a cruise in November, a week-long cruise. That included all of my food. It didn't include any drinks, but it included, all the entertainment on board, my accommodation, and my food. And a lot of people came back from that cruise and they complained about the food. And it wasn't the best, but the way I look at it was I paid £38. Anything that I eat on this cruise is a bonus. The way I saw it was like that.
That's astonishing. Yeah. And where was that on in the Mediterranean?
Yeah. So. Yeah, it was unlike anything I've done. But for me, answering the bad cruise question, as long as the value matches what I've paid, I don't mind. And I've literally cruised with Costa £38 a night up to Viking £400 a night. And as long as it matches, I think that's fine. So no, I don't think I've ever been on a bad cruise. That cruise, though, does have, on Cruise Critic, it's like 1.5 stars out of 5. It's really bad. But, I thought it was good. It was good fun. It was colourful. It was silly. Some of the food was fine. And I thought that was a bonus.
Well, I suppose in that time of year, what else can you do? That sounds like a really, really great way to spend a holiday at £38 a night. Like I say, you couldn't stay in a hotel for that price, could you?
Exactly. Yeah. When I see the prices of other things, I have friends who are booking, Butlin holidays, Haven holidays, and the price they pay for those on land, I just think, gosh, you could get a good cruise for that price. That's just how I think about things.
It looks like there's quite a party going on the top deck there at the rear, where they've got the infinity pools.
Yes, so I think there's 4 pools I think on this ship, which is pretty good. I like a ship with lots of pools. Oh yeah, you can see the water. So there's the one pool under the big dome there in the middle,
Yeah.
and then there's an outside pool. Then there's this pool at the back, and there's more than that somehow. So
Yeah, I think there's 2 though. I don't think we can. There's one further up. I can't see it. It's too bright.
yeah,
All the disco lights are going.
it's glowing.
So what have you got planned after Scarlet Lady then?
So I have booked on Sky Princess, which I think will be lovely. Princess are definitely one of my favorite cruise lines. I think they're very, everything is consistently good on there. They're not a cruise line that has, they don't have go-karts or these adrenaline-filled crazy things, but everything they do really well. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I have booked a Disney cruise as well, just to try it. I'm not sure about Disney cruises. I'm sure it will be great, but I'm not sure if it's going to be worth the price, which is, double, 3 times a Royal Caribbean cruise or a Norwegian cruise or kind of a cruise I would normally pay for. But I thought this was my chance. One of their ships is coming to the UK this summer, so this is going to be my chance. I'm going to get on board. I've booked a very short cruise, and I want to find out, some people who love Disney, I think they would love anything that Disney did and anything that Disney put a logo on.
Yep.
So I'm interested to see it from the cruise perspective and see if it's a good cruise product, regardless of the Mickey Mouse and all of that stuff.
I didn't realise that they were so expensive, the Disney cruises. We've got some relatives that are going out on Disney Magic next week, and one of the things they said was it was very expensive. And I thought, okay, I didn't ask too much, but it really is very expensive.
Yeah, for me, when I cruise, if I was to book a cruise on Iona, if I can stick to £100 per night, that's kind of the budget where I'm comfortable with it. If I can get a cruise under £50 per night, I feel like I've got an amazing deal. Disney cruises, the one I've booked is around £250 per night, which I know sounds just crazy, but that's quite good value for Disney. Normally it's £300 a night per person. Plus you have to pay gratuities on board. It's quite an expensive one, but this is by chance. I'm going to try it. It'll be good. I mean, it's a cruise, but yeah.
I take it there's a lot of Disney things going on the Disney cruise ship. There's lots of shows and.
Yeah, I think it's. They have this thing called rotational dining. So they have multiple restaurants on board. And normally what you would do is you would go to a restaurant, then you would go to a different restaurant. You would kind of pick whatever you wanted. But on Disney, you and the waiting staff move to the different restaurants each night. So you get to experience the different surroundings, but you stay all together, which isn't anything that any other cruise line does. And at those dinners, you'll have, all the characters from the movies coming up to you. And in the theatre, of course, is Disney shows and Disney entertainment. Disney obviously does. They know what they're doing. Yeah, cruises for families says double what you normally pay. Yeah, Disney, I'd say at least double what the other cruise lines are.
Curious, interesting. Question from Kathy. Of the new ships coming up, which ones are you most excited to sail on? We say there's quite a few, like you said earlier, there's quite a few ships coming up this year because they're all delayed from last year, aren't they? So.
Yeah, so I don't have any plans to cruise on this ship at the minute, but I think the one that I have my eye on most is Carnival's Mardi Gras, because it looks amazing. It has a roller coaster on the top, and how cool would it be to go on a roller coaster on a cruise ship? I haven't cruised with Carnival yet. I tried in 2020, but my first Carnival cruise, but obviously that didn't happen. So yeah, if I could pick anyone to go on right now, I think it would be Carnival's Mardi Gras. It just looks like so much fun. Very relaxed kind of cruise.
And when is she due to enter service? Do you know?
She already is. People are on board right now. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, I can't get over to the States and go on her really, but yeah, maybe next year.
I don't have much of a sphere of knowledge outside of the port here, so I live in a very closed world. Yeah,
for me, it's I have an eye on everything that's happening here, and then also there's everything in America. They're all restarting sailing again, and everyone's on board those ships. I see a comment from James that says, "I hope you've got a good pint of squash, Emma." And I have a pint of orange squash here, James. Yes, I do.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I think Iona now is just disappearing past the dock head on her way down to Southampton water. I don't do them at night, so it's not the best of quality, unfortunately. But there was no fireworks, disappointing. But anyway, she certainly looks, it's the brightest and shiniest I've seen Iona in the couple of months that she's been coming out of port. Looks like a lot of partying going on there. Had an awful lot of wavers this evening, which I think is brilliant. The mobile phone, the lights on the mobile phone definitely made it a lot easier to spot people.
Yeah, I think when you get a first cruise like this, the people who are on there are the people that love cruising. We've got all the diehard cruise fans on there, which is super cool.
Yeah, are there any other YouTubers on Iona? Do we know?
There's many on there.
There are many.
The main ones I would shout out to is my friend Dave, who has a cabin right at the front.
Right,
My friend Matthew's on board. He's got a YouTube channel called Cruising with Matthew. He just got off Silhouette as well, which is cool. My friend Lois is on there from No Cruise Control, and we have Steph from Cruising with Amber, and we have other people who I've probably forgotten, but they're the ones at the front of my mind. But there's plenty. If you want to go, on Twitter or anywhere, type in Iona. There's so many pictures of people enjoying their ship, which is so cool to see.
Excellent. So that's some good advice there if you're interested in getting some review videos. I'll imagine they'll be coming out in the next week or so from various YouTubers.
Yes, plenty. Everyone's very excited about this ship. I'm sure the first ship tour will probably be dropping soon.
Brilliant. Our local Indian restaurant, I think, is doing a good job for vying with colours against the Iona. The Cooties Indian Brasserie, fine Indian restaurant, has won many awards, best Indian restaurant in the country. But they've recently installed some lights, and I think it's just so they can compete with Iona. Personally,
I think it's a tricky task to compete with Iona. She is 16 decks, is she, something like that? She's a pretty big ship.
Yeah,
pretty big ship.
Yeah, it's just quite deceiving. I say it's quite deceiving. You don't realise how big she is, particularly the width. It doesn't look particularly wide until you see her passing a sort of, say, Britannia, and it just makes Britannia look very small.
Yeah, it's really tricky to explain to someone who's never stood next to the ship and looked up at the ship. But if you imagine there's 16 decks on this, if you were stood next to a building that was 20 stories high, that's a very high building, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's so hard to, until you stand next to the ship. One of my favourite things is if I take someone on a cruise who's never been on a cruise, finally convince some of my friends to take them on a cruise. And the first time when the bus pulls up and they get off and they look up at that ship, it's amazing to see people's faces when they realise how big these cruise ships are. Yeah.
I don't think you don't really have any idea, do you? You get on board and you see them in person. Another question for Emma here. What are Emma's thoughts on the new World Europa from MSC?
Oh, I think it looks fantastic. So I have cruised with MSC quite a few times, and I've kind of done the MSC Meraviglia Virtuosa class of ship quite a few times now. So I'm looking forward to moving on, and these ships are it looks crazy. MSC are popping out cruise ships like it's the easiest thing for them to do. Every year they're popping out a couple of ships a year. So I think exciting things to come from MSC. But yeah, all the MSC ships I think are great. But particularly I like the Meraviglia, Bellissima. I actually went on Bellissima when she was in the shipyard when she was half finished, which was really cool. Wandering around the ship when it was just steel with a hard hat on. It was amazing.
Well, that's very different. How did you manage to get onto that then?
MSC just invited me on board. I don't know why. I guess I made a video for it on my YouTube channel, but it was quite a long time ago. I didn't really have many subscribers or anything then, but I guess some people were going and they had space for me and they invited me to tour the ship, which was really cool. I need to dig out some of my stuff from that and talk about that again because it was bizarre. It was bizarre because I had already been on the Meraviglia, who's the sister ship. So when I was walking around, I could imagine it because I knew what it was going to look like. And it was, really cool. Strange, but cool.
Okay. How long have you been YouTubing and cruising in a...
Yeah, so as we were saying earlier, I've been cruising since I was 11, and
Yep.
then I started my website when I tried to convince my friends to go on a cruise, and they came back with all of these silly things, because they just didn't know any better. So one of my friends, he assumed that every deck would have communal bathrooms on it, and like every cabin would share the toilet, because he just didn't. Why would he know? He had no
Yeah.
idea. He just
Yeah,
didn't
fair
know.
enough. Yeah.
So I took a Cunard cruise, and I sat on that cruise, and I thought, this is kind of what people think cruising is, because it's very traditional. The dress codes are very strict, and I wanted to tell people, it doesn't have to be like this if you don't want it to. There's so many relaxed cruise lines. So I started a website in 2016, and then I started a YouTube channel maybe 2017, just to kind of show off things that sometimes it's just easier to show things rather than type them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
then I carried on since then. Obviously last year I had to kind of change the content I was making, because before that I was making cruise reviews, cabin tours and ship
Yeah.
tours, and all of a sudden I could not do that. I couldn't do that anymore. So I moved kind of into the cruisy news space last year, because there was plenty of cruise news going on. And I spent all of last year, just working on the channel, working on my website. And then, start of this year, I see a question: is cruise vlogging your full-time job? It is now, as of this year.
Right.
I left my job in March. I worked in data development for the last 6 years, and unsurprisingly, I decided cruising was more interesting than data development, and I now am Emma Cruises full time, which has been amazing.
And how are you finding that? It's slightly different from what did you say? Data analyzing.
Yeah, so I studied maths at university, and then I just did coding all day, every day. And now, when something happens, I can make a video about it. I don't have to wait till 5 p.m. And it's just fantastic. I've been able to do so much more, and go on trips that are always kind of last minute. And I would have already ran out of annual leave and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has been tricky for the last few years, kind of juggling the two. I've done 2 full-time jobs for the last few years because I wanted to, and I loved it. But now to only have one job it's so good. It's amazing.
Well, that's really good. What are your sort of future ambitions then, to try and take things further?
I don't really know, because I didn't have a plan when I started this. I just thought it would be funny to start a website. I just thought it would be amusing. I never had a plan. I just try and say yes to opportunities as they come up, and it's just amazing to be able to do that now. So who knows? 2021, I think, is exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. It's a really incredibly powerful tool, YouTube and the internet, just to be able to produce your own content, and before you know it, there's thousands of people enjoying it, which is just unheard of before, isn't it? Interesting question from Dave. Ahoy there, shipmate Dave. He says, do you hear people snoring in the cabin next door?
I don't think I've ever heard other people snoring. I will say the newer ships are much better soundproof, I think, than some of the older ones. I've never heard snoring. Sometimes you'll hear, faint people talking.
Yeah.
Or I took a cruise on the Norwegian Spirit, which was it was actually my first cruise ship that I ever sailed on, and I went back on her years and years and years later. And it was a Christmas cruise that we took, and I had an inside cabin right at the bottom near the atrium, and we could hear really faint Christmas carols that they were singing in the atrium, kind of coming into the cabin, which, exactly, oh dear, because it was very creepy in the dark just to hear very vague Christmas carols. Quite relaxing after a while. But it was strange. I see James says clearly she's not sat next to me. We have some people who snore in the chat. But I don't think I've ever heard snoring. You kind of hear, like, the cruise ships kind of vibrate, like there's a hum, which I find really relaxing when you're falling asleep. It's like being lightly not shaked, but rocked to sleep, if you know what I mean.
Mechanical noise.
Just something, and I really like that, especially in an inside cabin, because it's pitch black. Best sleep ever. The danger, though, is that you will just go to sleep and waste your entire cruise because there's nothing to wake you up, so I have to make a conscious effort.
Good. So I know no snoring people. That's good. Good to know. All right. So Iona's just going. Oh, it's getting close to the SO terminal now. It's getting very faint. Mm-hmm. very faint, disappearing slowly down Southampton water. Somebody asked a question: Is there a tug there? No, I think that's the harbour master. Harbour master's been escorting the cruise ships out this evening. Just more of a courtesy thing, really. What else? Some people are, she's getting close to the Isle of Wight. Yes, you can probably switch to the Isle of Wight camera and watch her later as she gets close to the Isle of Wight.
I don't know how you managed to coordinate all of this, but I think, I mean, for me and for everybody who watches these, normally I'm in the chat. I'm always trying to watch these when I can, but I think we need to say thank you to you because I have no idea how you do this.
Yeah.
And thank you for doing it because everyone loves it, and it's so nice to see all of the nice comments in the chat and the people who come back, over and over again to join these. I think it's so nice. But yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on board. I have noticed a few people commenting because I've never watched a live stream until I've never watched a live stream. I made my own first. I started streaming before I knew what it was, so I didn't know what everyone else did. So I didn't really look at live streaming and all these sorts of things. But these a number of people said that the chat is a real good community. And I think it's the same on your channel as well. It's not like some of the more youth orientated channels which are just overloaded with swearing and nonsense.
Yeah.
And it's actually a really nice sociable community on board. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah, I think you've got really nice people in these comments, and it's interesting the different kind of platforms because I briefly dipped my hand into TikTok because I thought that would be fun, and it was fun. But the comments you get on a place like TikTok compared to YouTube, you get angry children on TikTok mostly, whereas the people in this chat seem to be actually interested in cruising, which is nice. But yeah,
most of the people. It's quite interesting every time I stream a different ship. Most of the people in the chat are either remembering a great time they've had on that ship or have planned a voyage on that ship later in the year. So they're just coming on board the stream to have a look and think, oh, our cabin's just in the midships there somewhere above the lifeboats, and they're just coming in to have a look and seeing what it's all about. So it's really interesting in that respect.
So cool to be able to do that. I mean, to be able to pre-plan and get so excited about it, whereas before you would have just booked it and then you wouldn't see it until you went. But I'm sure some of the people in the chat, and I'm someone who researches everything before I go on a cruise because I want to make the most of it. My worst nightmare is I get off the cruise and then someone asks me, did I try this thing, and I never found it, which you can do on cruises. So being able to look at these chats and things is just so helpful.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I've looked on quite a few of the websites, and they really don't have a lot of information. It's almost like they're trying to keep it a secret what's on board, which I can sort of understand because you want to enjoy when you go on there. But like you say, sometimes you go on a cruise ship, you get off, and someone said, "Oh, did you try the go-kart track?" What go-kart track?
You would think that wasn't possible, but I think on every cruise, even though I will make an effort, like I will make a full ship tour on every ship, so you would think I would see everything, but there's always a comment that says, oh, you missed this lounge. I never heard of that lounge before. Where was that?
Yeah, so that's a good bit of information for everyone there. Yeah, carrying out some research.
Yeah, look at the deck plans, they don't lie.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point with the YouTubers and the vloggers. They do find out a lot of information on board, don't they, that you can really relate to.
Yeah, I agree what you say about sometimes some things are really hard to find on cruise lines websites. I spent this last week putting together a big list of all of the cabins on all of the ships and all of their different types of plug sockets, which you think would be readily available information because you would think the ships would want you to know which adapters to bring. But they do. Yeah. They do not make that information easy, and I had to look through so many pictures on Cruise Critic that people had submitted and watch videos and put together everything into this giant table. It took me ages, but now I have it, so that's good. But I agree with what you said.
So is that available on your website there, is it?
Yeah, so that's on emmacruises.com. Everything I do is on emmacruises.com, keeping things simple. Emma Cruises YouTube, emmacruises.com website, Emma Cruises everywhere.
Do you find yourself introducing yourself as Emma Cruises these days?
It's when I get, I get posts and things, and it says Cruises as my surname. That's not my real surname, but maybe it's just easier to let people think that it is. Sometimes I do get, I'll get a message or a comment that says, "Hi, Emma Cruises, what's your name?" And I'm like, well, yeah, can you not? Maybe if you can't work that out, I don't really need to
Yeah,
explain.
does seem a bit past it.
Yeah, a little
Oh,
bit.
well, it's been fantastic to have you on, Emma. That's the first time I've had a guest on board.
Yes, well, I'm free anytime because this has been so much fun. Normally, I'm in the chat anyway, so it's nice to just
It's
be able to talk to everybody.
absolutely it saves you typing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's easier.
And I must say, great thanks to my Spanner crew. They look after all the chats on the live streams. And I'd be lost without them because I just can't keep up with the chats while I'm driving the cameras.
Yes.
I've had
Good work.
lots of new subscribers this evening. Many thanks to all new subscribers and welcome aboard. And there's been a few donations. Great, thank you very much. I've got a few more cameras planned. I'm expanding the camera network. I've got some locations in mind, but it's just really slow because no one's. It's all done with sort of, well, not favours, but people are just generously giving me a bit of wall space somewhere or somewhere to install a camera, and it's not easily done. I've got to check out the electricity requirements and the internet requirements, and
Yeah.
then I have to rely on somebody saying I can come down at some point and screw it to their wall. It's taking its time, but but there are coming. So I'm hoping to get a bit of a better coverage of the Solent and get one down in Portsmouth. So I won't be down there in time for your Scarlet Lady, but in future, if you're going out of Portsmouth, there'll be
Cool.
an opportunity there.
Yeah, it sounds good. Again, I mean, just thank you for doing this, and thank you from everyone in the chat who is saying great chat, and thank you to you for setting all of this up, because it's such a nice way to spend an evening. It's so nice to see everybody.
Yeah. So some people say they refer to it as a bit like slow TV.
Yeah.
Nothing happens at a rush on the channel. It's all very slowly. It all happens at 6 miles an hour.
Yeah, I feel relaxed now. I think this is good.
Brilliant. Well, I shall carry on tracking on Iona, but Emma and I will depart the chat.
Awesome.
Thank you once again for Emma coming aboard, and thank you, shipmates, for tuning in. Until next time.
I was just going to say thank you again. Thank you, everybody, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Caroline Navy test, that's all received, thank you. The bluefin at the reach inbound from the Cape Kronos, just past pier, head outbound, clear channel container vessel.
电量不足，
Your channel, all received, thank you. And the cowshot gauge for your information, currently 3 days.
电量不足， 电量不足， 电量不足，
PTS, Eston, just finished on the Kronos, back to 237. Next one's the Polaris.
电量不足，
That's all received, thank you. She's just boarding Eastern Ab as we speak.
Thank you.
电量不足， 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 电量不足，
P&O
模式1566 00菜单设置模拟哑音菜单设置数字哑音菜单设置模拟哑音确定